So this is our agenda for today. It's mostly to do with the background to language learning. All right, so we're going to start with presentation techniques, then look at the role of exposure and focus on form in language learning. After our short break to use the bathroom and get water, then we'll have types of activities and tasks for language and skills development, and then we'll have assessment types and tasks. Right, so let's begin with presentation techniques. So, question: what does the teacher do in the presentation stage of a lesson? What does the teacher do in the presentation stage of a lesson? Any ideas? Share something here. It's not good. No. Hi, welcome, Francisco.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi,
so
good afternoon.
Yeah, we're gonna. You haven't missed very much, but I'm recording if you need to go back at any point and review.
Thank you.
The session. So the question is, what does the teacher do in the presentation stage of the lesson? Any ideas? Yeah?
Maybe a warm-up?
Could be, yes. What else could they do?
A lead in, I don't know, to see if the students know about what they're going to.
Yeah, more. So warm up, lead in, and maybe introduce some new language, right? So I'd like us to work on this jigsaw. It's not a jigsaw, it's a crossword. What you would call a crucigrama, right? So all the clues in this puzzle describe different techniques a teacher might use at the presentation stage of a lesson. All right. Can you can you annotate onto this? Can you write on here? Oops. Are you able to write on here? Yeah, good. Okay, so I'd like us to work together and complete the puzzle. If you find it difficult, I can give you the first letters of each word. So
Maybe that could help.
So I'm going to put C for that one. Number 2. I'm going to put D for this one. D down. 3 across is P. Or for 5 down would be E. 6 across would be E as well. So, any ideas? They don't have to be in order. If you have an idea, call it out.
Number 4, I think it's move.
Move. So
Is it?
let's read. No, don't go
No.
not too fast. It's too general a word. It's a more specific action that we use to represent words with our hands. Like, what do I have?
Hmm.
There's a similar word in Spanish. It means acting out the word.
Actuar.
Huh?
Actuar, pero.
No. Guess other words then if you move on to that one.
Let me see.
You can use the
Number 5, explain.
explain. Close, but it's to use questions to avoid explaining.
Especially the time questions.
There's a similar word in Spanish as well.
Give information or an opinion. No. Elicit. Number 5 is elicit.
Elicit, very good. Francisco, yes. So please be consulting the TKT glossary.
Yes.
Look in the alphabetical. Yeah, elicit is number 5.
Number 1, it's number 1 down. To put new language into a station that slows what it means.
Yeah, it's like a situation or
Knowledge in a situation.
context. But think about it's a verb. Yeah, number 1 down. We use the word
content.
context. Look in the
Contextualize.
yes. Look in the glossary if you're not sure.
Yeah.
To get some students to repeat.
Okay.
words to phrase. Let's do down. Three across to introduce.
Are you looking in the TKT glossary?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you should be able to find it then.
2, 3 down, 3, 2 down.
Mm.
That's a D, by the way. D R. Drill.
Oh yeah, drill.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. I think it's fair enough.
That's what we do when we repeat. To get the students to repeat, we drill.
Okay.
How about 3 across?
3 across is pronoun, is it?
No, that's got nothing to do with presentation.
Oh, 3 across. Let me see.
Presentation techniques.
We position new language usually by focusing on it formally. P.
Come on, just keep guessing, guys. Keep throwing words at me. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I mean, we're gonna get the answer anyway, right?
Right. Come on.
I don't know if number one is concept question, but it doesn't fit. I'm like
That's
doing,
concept.
mhm.
It's a verb, like a compound verb. And so what would be the next part?
Conceptualize, conceptualize.
It begins with a C. These are types of questions, CCQs,
Mhm.
concept check questions.
Concept check.
Yeah. And so this one would be present.
What? Present? Ah, how easy is that?
Yeah, come on, guys.
Just give us the two other words. Come on.
And this one will be mime, which is like acting out.
Mine.
And this would be explain. Yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to give you the answers because time is passing on. We've got a lot of material to get through. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So,
We get it.
what kind of activity was this? What kind of activity was this?
Crossword puzzle?
It's a crossword puzzle, yeah. Would you say, is it a warmer? Is it a lead in? Is it something else? Is it an icebreaker?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a warmer, icebreaker? Is it a lead in?
I'll lead in.
Maybe it's a lead in.
Yeah. More likely to be a warmer. Okay, well, we'll talk about later what a warmer is. And it's, yeah, it's an introductory activity, right, to get the lesson started. Now, I'd like us to discuss these three questions together. Well, actually, there are two. What reasons are there for doing introductory activities such as warmers, icebreakers, and lead-ins? What introductory activities to start a lesson with do you know? So I'm going to leave you three a couple of minutes to discuss those questions. When I come back, I'd like the spokesperson, I want one, a vocera or vocero, to give me the answers. So who's going to be the vocera?
One of the girls.
I can do it.
Montse or Sophia? Great, well done. So I'll see you in about 3 minutes. I'd like you to discuss those questions. I'm just going to go and get my stopwatch.
So maybe to get their attention first.
What reasons are there for doing introductory activities such as warmers, icebreakers, and lead-ins?
See how much do they know before the lesson?
Okay, yeah, to measure what is the, how
What
they,
reasons?
what
they're
they
putting
know
up?
about the topic. It can be also to put them in the mood of the classroom, you know, like to pass from, I mean, you work with kids,
What
to pass from
introductory
this other activity, maybe art class, maybe coming home, like, okay, let's focus. Now we're in the classroom. Now we're going to speak English, like to set them in the space, the learning space that you want to create.
Yes.
What is it? What reasons are there for doing
So those are the reasons and introductory activities to start a lesson. Do you know? Maybe brainstorm.
Yeah, about a lead-in topic, like question of the session. it can also be, I mean, when you have the class, you already been having a lot of sessions. Maybe you can check the homework
Could be,
to,
yeah.
to review the, what we saw and how we're going to connect it to the new topic.
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
Introductory activities.
Okay, so we have ask questions
Mhm.
from Sophia. I have, what I would say is like check homework or propose a question of like a question of the week.
Mhm.
And what about you, Francisco?
Wow.
Introductory activities,
Mhm.
maybe read about something
Okay,
and talk or speak about the subject or ask questions about what the lecture was about.
Mhm.
Something to do with reading, I would
oh,
think.
like, yeah, like a really short text, like an introduction of the topic.
Yeah, like read something like on the board or something to read and then
Mhm.
talk about what was read,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we can do games. For example, one that it's right now really popular, and you can use it for nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Is that they have to guess, I guess. It's a fun game. It's a, like, if you want to go to a party, you need to bring something.
Mm.
And they have to give you correct nouns, correct verbs, correct adjectives. That way they can go to this made believe party. So maybe we can put that games to make it
Yeah.
like to activate this creative part of English learning.
Yes, I like it. Okay. So I think we have it.
Mhm. I think we didn't hear about, what do you think about the first question, Francisco?
What reasons are there for doing introductory activities such as word merge?
Mhm.
What reasons are there for doing just to overview, you know,
Okay.
reasons? Well, I think that's just the head of the game, you know, just to go over what was already been said, you know, or what has already been, you know, just to bring old things back. No,
Okay.
like as a reminder.
Oh, okay. Cool.
What
All
I
right.
mean, I think that's the reason why introductory activities.
All right. You may be
To
surprised.
pick up where
Sorry
we
to
left at.
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, but you may be surprised that there's more to it than that. Yeah. Each of these warmer, icebreaker, and lead-in has a different meaning and function. You'll be surprised. Yeah. Any other comments about this first question?
Well, I think the main ideas is that why are we doing that? So to see what they already know, like to make evaluation of the grasp on the topics. Maybe it can be also to put them in a headspace that it's appropriate for the classroom, like to set this mindset that we are going to learn English, and what I think, and what Francisco was saying about, like, to bring back what was learned before and to connect it to the new session of the class.
All right. And what about this one? What introductory activities to start a lesson? Do you know?
Well, we were talking about like from a topic to make the like range of ideas, like to let everybody put their input about certain topic or about certain question that is going to be the leading of the session. We can also make games so the students can be a little bit more active and like more engaged with the activities. Like there's a lot of games that they can be used that they're really short, just like to start the class.
Mhm.
And also like bringing back the idea of Francisco, like to check the homework that maybe it was sent the session before.
Cool. No, you may be, as I mentioned, you may be surprised that there's a specific meaning to warmer, an icebreaker, and lead in. So generally we use warmers to give the class more energy at the start of the lesson, to get them relaxed at the start of the lesson so they're ready for learning, and to encourage students to communicate with each other.
So it has nothing to do with the class, just
Yeah, not necessarily to actually do with the actual content
Okay.
of the lesson. Yeah. Whereas icebreakers, we don't use them out that very often. Right? Usually at the beginning of the course, right? To get to know each other. And also for the teacher to get to know the students. And encourage good rapport or understanding between the students and the students. But so between the students and the teacher. Whereas lead-ins, these are like part of any lesson, usually preparing them to work on a text or the main task, to create interest in the topic, to maybe personalize a text, to let the students bring their knowledge and experience to a text or topic, and study some new key language. So let me just give you an example of one I did very recently. What was that? Just give me a second. Let me pull it up. Ah, yes. Here's the lead-in I did very recently for a reading lesson, and it was elementary level. So. Ah, yes, here we are. All right, so the topic was about cars, and the reading was about a very small car. So to introduce the topic, I created a little situation, and this was the lead-in. The question was, well, Tim is a college professor. He's only got a budget of 20,000 euros. He wants to drive around a busy city, but he's environmentally conscious. All right, so which car should he buy? Which car do you think he should buy?
Fiat.
Yeah, because it's within his budget, right? And yeah, and within his needs and range of price range. Yeah. So then they went on to do a reading. This is an authentic reading from a magazine about cars. Yeah, so that was the lead-in.
Okay.
Now, so next questions. Ah, yes. I'm going to show you some activities, and I want you to decide whether they're lead-in, whether they're icebreakers, or they're warmers. Okay. Sure. I'm just going to put you into, well, one group is enough because we don't only have one set of. Ah, we have Viviana, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Viviana, thank you for joining us. I've recorded the first part of the session, so you can go back and look at it later. Now I'm going to put you into two groups. And I'd like you to look at the descriptions of these activities. So let's have Group A. Let's have Francisco and Sophia. Okay, so what you're going to do is read the activities. You get to make them bigger, you just stretch them a bit like that. Okay, and you have to decide, are they icebreakers, are they warmers, or are they lead-ins, right? So you may have to go back and look at the explanation of what warmers, lead-ins, icebreakers are. So I'll put that into the chat so you have access to it. Okay, so I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and you're going to work together and decide, are they warmers, icebreakers, or lead-ins? And on here, I'd like you to write why use it. Yeah. So the first one you could say, it looks like an icebreaker to me. Because it's like used at the beginning of a course, the teacher to get to know the students. Why use it? Well, to get to know teacher, to get to know students. All right, that's all you need to write. Huh? Simple notes for why use them.
Okay.
Okay, so that's group A. Group B is going to be Viviana and Monse, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, Viviana and Monse. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to work together in the breakout rooms. And use the stickies, yeah? Sticky notes. To write it, you can actually write on those yourself. Here's the link. Please click on to the Jamboard. Can you give me the thumbs up to confirm you have it? Viviana, do you have it? Give me the thumbs up. Francisco, thumbs up. Okay, great. So breakout rooms, assign automatically to group B is Eliana Monse, group A is Francisco and Sophia. Okay, you've got maximum 10 minutes. Starting now. Please go to your breakout rooms. Viviana, you need to go to your breakout room. Right, don't worry if you didn't answer all the questions. We'll go through them now. I'd like Francisco and Sophia talk us through the first three.
Okay. Do you want to do it, Francisco, or do you
Yeah,
want
I'll let you do it because you have the answers.
me? Okay.
You do it, please.
So number one, we think it's an icebreaker. Well, we talked about it at the beginning because the teacher get to know the students. They introduce.
That's right, it is, yes.
something, and then everybody gets to know that person. Number two, we say it's a lead in because and we use it because we create interesting in the topic. And number three, we think it's a warmer because they are communicating with each other.
Okay. Well, at least you've given persuasive answers. It's not quite right, but I'll give you the answers after Monse and Viviana have given us their answers for 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, so for number 4, we decided that it was icebreaker because because it's about this activity is to let other people know about each other. That's why they're asking about their favorite color. What's your favorite color, to make a conversation between each other. The second one, number 5 in this case, we put it so warmer because it's telling us, it's making the student make sentences, like practicing their sentence creation abilities. So it's not about the topic of the class mainly, it's just an activity like to set up the mindset of the class. Like, okay, we're going to construct sentences, but it's not the main topic to be a leading. And in the last one, we were discussing about if it was a warmer or if it was an icebreaker. But we decided to leave it as a warmer because it's also creating more into the class, like a more related to the materials activity, and not an icebreaker that it's more like to get to know each other.
So then isn't it a lead in?
Yeah, is that we didn't see it quite as a lead in, maybe, but we were discussing that last one part when we saw that we had 0 more time.
Okay. Well, I mean, they are open to interpretation, but I'll give you the official answers so that you can then at least you know that there is a supposed answer to this. So number 1 would be icebreaker.
Damn it.
Students getting to know each other. Warmer is to increase the energy levels to relax the class. It's not really a lead in, or nor is it an icebreaker. 3 is obviously a lead in because it's going to lead on to the topic of big city, which could be the text that they're going to read, or it could be part of the grammar lesson. Maybe they're going to focus on prepositions of place, right? Number 4 is an icebreaker. Yeah, getting to know each other. 5 is a warmer. Suppose it could be a lead-in if the topic or focus of the lesson is to do with daily routines. But in the absence of that information, it looks more like a warmer. And then 6 is a lead-in because it's leading on to the topic of news stories, probably what they're going to read. Right. Probably going to read a new story. All right, now we're getting into some unknown territory for some people because I'm going to ask you to open up the handout that I sent you. By email.
Yes.
Okay. And it's called Presentation Techniques and Introductory Activities, HO, which stands for handout.
So
Now
is
we're
that,
gonna
is
look
that gonna
at,
be on our email?
that's in your email.
Okay, let me get it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can put it into the chat if you mislaid the email. It could be that your server blocks the email because it's a bit heavy. So we're going to focus here on different methodologies, some of which you may or may not be familiar with. So let's, and there are different ways of presenting language, and they're actually related. It's actually related to the language that we looked at the beginning here with these concepts like concept checking. Right? The concept checking is associated with a certain methodology. Right? So, Montserrat, could you read number 1 for us, please?
It says, a way of teaching new language in which the teacher presents the language, gets students to practice it in exercise or other controlled practices, activities, and then asks students to use or produce the same language in a communicative and less controlled way.
All right, so what do we think? Is it likely to be grammar translation, guided discovery, lexical approach, PPP, task-based learning, test, teach, test, or total physical response? Any idea?
It's the, I think, presentation, practice, and production.
It is indeed, yes. So it's not. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to read through this and do the matching.
Mhm.
Again, you can check in the glossary, the TKT glossary. If you're not sure, because the glossary will give you some ideas about some explanation about the methodologies.
Okay.
So do this individually. When you're ready, put your answers in chat.
Okay.
Thank you, Monse, for sharing your answers. Can the rest of you please put your answers into chat? Because time's up.
I sent it as a private message. Do you want me to put it in the group message?
Yeah, but could you put it into the... You're right, Monse. In fact, let me just do it for you.
Oh,
This was Monse, yeah?
okay, thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, Sophia, you're right with 6 is in fact A. Yeah, 1 is D. We've established that. 7, C. Yeah.
So 6 is not A?
Six is A, yeah, you're right. What about you, Francisco? Are any of these familiar to you?
Number 4 is B. Yes.
4 is B, yeah.
Mm. 5D. No.
All right, so let me just share with you we're getting there. I think you've got the right, most of you got the right ideas. So number 2 is E, task-based learning. Yeah, meaningful tasks. Right now, by meaningful tasks, we mean the students aren't merely practicing language just for the sake of it, right? Like conjugate these verbs into the past simple. No, no. It's like make a list of your top 3 favorite banda artists, right? So, you know, list making, categorization, giving a presentation in which you're communicating information. That's what we mean by meaningful tasks. So that's typical of task-based learning. And so then we have total physical response. So that's a way of learning that's through instructions, and students have to react to them, often in a physical way, right, by doing the actions.
No, creo que se subió la silla.
After that, number 5 is test, teach, test. Yeah, so we want to find out how well the students can do a piece of language. I think you mentioned that, Monse, earlier at the beginning of the lesson. Sometimes we can have a lesson that is focused on diagnosing what's wrong with the student's language learning in a particular area. Then we give them some remedial teaching and we test them again to see if they can use the language after the teaching. So that, and then grammar translation is studying grammar, translating words into their own language. Not so popular these days, but it's still used in universities with modern languages. And lexical approach is focused on lexical items, chunks, multi-word units. And the idea is that by learning these, we can develop students' fluency a lot faster than normal. Okay, any questions about that before we move on? We've got quite a lot of stuff to do. So, unless you have any specific questions right now, I'm going to move us on to exposure to language and focus on form. So, let's ask some questions about us, find out how much experience we have learning languages. Sophia, how many languages do you speak? Sophia, how many languages do you speak?
Two and a half.
2.5. What do you mean?
I understand French and I speak a little bit of French, but I'm not that good yet. But
Okay.
English and Spanish.
And when did you learn French?
Because I was going to go to live. I was going to work in Paris, so I had to learn the language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that a good motivation for learning the language?
Yes, for me it was.
Good. Now I wanted to ask, let's ask someone else. How about Francisco?
I
You
speak
sound like
two
you-
languages.
You
Huh?
sound like you sound like you have a bit of an American accent. Did you grow up in the United States?
Yes, I lived over there for 20 years.
Yeah, I thought so. You can tell by the way you speak that you have exposure and lived in the US.
I actually, I'm 40 years old right now.
Uh-huh.
When I was 13, I was already speaking English, man.
Uh-huh.
So I've been speaking for a long time. For many years, I've been speaking English. Yes.
Yeah. So you learned it growing up, right?
Excuse me?
You learned English growing up.
No, I
In the
actually went to
United-
school. I went to school 4 years to learn how to speak English.
Okay, but was that in the United States?
Yes, yes. I went to my grade school. I went to grade school and so elementary school, and that's where I learned how to speak English because I used to be in the ESL class 4 years.
Okay, when did you first move to the US?
I was 8 years old.
Okay, and then before that you lived in Mexico?
Yes, I was born here in Mexico.
Okay, and then from the age of 8 until what age were you living in the US?
Till I was maybe about 28.
Oh, really? So you had like 20 years of exposure.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
yes.
thank you. Is there
Thank
anyone
you.
else in a similar situation to Francisco? What about you, Viviana?
I studied for 3 years at the school university.
From what age? Is this English, right? Okay, what age did you start studying English?
28.
At the age of 28, you started studying English.
Yes.
And you,
But English class in specific for an hour for me. But the elementary school and the other school, I learned English class, but the whole group.
I see. Have you learned any other languages?
Only English and Spanish.
Okay. What about you, Monse? What's your language learning background like?
Well, I can speak fluently Spanish and English. I started learning English in elementary school. I went to a bilingual elementary school, and then I continued a little bit with one class each day when I was in middle school.
Uh-huh.
I can understand French, and I can like defend myself if I go there, because my sister and my mom speak French.
Oh,
I
yes, you do
never-
need to defend yourself, don't you? Yeah, and when you're in
Yeah.
France.
Yeah, I never wanted to learn that language. I started learning Italian, but I discovered, I think, that I'm not so good at learning languages. It's hard for me.
Right. Why?
I don't know. Is that I get confused because I know Spanish, French, and I was learning Italian. I got mixed up horribly. Like in one of my exams, the teacher told me like, okay, you spoke 50% Italian, 30% French, and 20% Spanish. And I was like, yay. Sorry about that. Yeah,
Huh.
I think I have a hard time, remembering vocabulary, but I think grammar I can manage. I can understand grammar, but the thing is that I cannot remember vocabulary so easily.
All right, now we're going to discuss this topic of exposure, but I'd like you to read this this text and answer this question. What theory of language learning is discussed in the text? So you've got to read it quickly. It's what we call a gist question. Right? And you have to answer, choose. You've got two options, all right? Then you answer a second question. It's the same text. Does the theory avoid the teaching of grammar completely? Yes or no? All right, so I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to read. I'm going to put the text into the chat. Can you please confirm that you've received it? Here it is now, coming in now. Look in the chat, please. Okay, can you give me a thumbs up that you've received? Okay, so you've got 3 minutes starting now to answer those simple questions.
Should we submit our answers?
Yeah, you've got about 10 seconds, so please submit your answers using that purple button at the bottom. Let's check. So, yeah, the theory of learning is to do with language acquisition rather than language learning. Does the theory, so we're all correct there. Well done, everybody. I think there's one person who hasn't submitted their answers, but that's okay.
But I'll give you the answers. It's I think it's more like they're speaking about the first and second language acquisition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does the theory avoid the teaching of grammar completely? And most of us agree, yeah, that a focus on language form is integral to second language acquisition. Yeah, so that's correct. So we've all got our GIST questions answered correctly. So now we're going to read it again for detail. So I'm going to have the same groups as before, Francisco and Sophia. You're going to answer some reading for detail questions. So it's the same text, but with greater detail. Okay. So if you click on this link, Francisco and Sophia, I'd like you to answer the following 5 questions. Now, Monse and Viviana, you're going to answer a slightly different set of questions, but it's about the same text.
Okay, I have a little problem. The thing is that I'm using my phone, and sometimes it was doing it last time that I was going into the for instance, you tell me to click on it. If I click on it, it'll throw me out of the meeting, out of the class.
I see your problem. Well, in that case, maybe Sophia, could you actually write in the answers, and maybe you can suggest the answers, right?
All right.
So here, for group B, Monse and Bibiana, you can see that you have a different set of questions to answer. But it's about the same text. So you're answering 6 to 9. So you need to answer, what is exposure? What is the silent period? Why is interaction important? What is focus on form? Okay, you two. Any questions?
It's
All
not
right.
a question. I was going to ask you maybe if we could have the ability to share screen. So maybe it's a little bit easier to view.
I'd like, and we could, but I think we might have to leave Zoom.
Oh,
So
no.
it might be better we could do that when we take our break. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
it's
But
just,
let's try and do this activity first, the best we can. And then after the break, we'll come back in and I've changed the settings, but it's not going to kick in until we actually leave and come back in.
got it. Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's start the breakout rooms again. Shouldn't take you as long, maybe 5 to 6 minutes. I'll give you 6. Okay. Let's begin. Please go to your breakout rooms. Just answer the questions that are assigned to you, yeah? Are you watching Live and Let Die? Viviana, please go to your breakout room. You're needed. Yeah, Viviana, you need to go to your breakout room. Where's these students? Okay, so we've done the first part of the exercise of this jigs. This is called a jigsaw reading, all right, in which you're going to exchange information that you have with information that your partner has. So from I'm going to put Francisco in with Monse. Okay, so you were in a room with someone else who you hadn't worked with before. And so Francisco is with Monse and Sophia is with Viviana. So the idea is that you exchange and get the information that you don't have. So, so for example, Francisco and Sophia had this information, right? The first questions, but they don't have the information for the next four. All right. Fortunately, Monse has that information. Whereas Monse has this information, but she needs to get the answers to the first 5 questions. Okay. See?
Yeah.
You can go ahead and write the answers on these Google Forms if you wish, or you could just put them on the handout that I sent you, because the questions are also on the handout. Just to remind you, this is what the handout looks like. Yeah. Yeah, just so make sure you've got an answer for all of the questions. Right. So give you about 4 minutes to do this, and then we'll check the answers. Ready?
Yes.
What are you watching? Shrek? Which one? All right, good job. I could see most of you were getting the right answers. So just to confirm these answers. So question number 1. What is acquisition? It's the process of learning skills or getting knowledge. Our language acquisition is a natural process, according to some people, and it involves picking up language in a non-conscious way through exposure to the language and not by studying it. Whereas language learning is conscious, intentional, and involves studying. It pays attention to language rules. How do children learn their first language? Through acquisition. Probably how Francisco learned English, right? First language
No.
acquisition. More than anything, probably.
Yes.
Maybe you did have some explicit language classes, English language classes in the US, but because you were exposed to the English language a lot in the US, acquisition would have been quite important for you, I guess. Huh?
Yes.
So that's how most of you would learn Spanish, right? Through acquisition. You get to know its rules through exposure, by being exposed to examples of the language and by using it. What is second language acquisition? It's the process and the study of the process by which people learn a language that is not their native language. 3 considerations: exposure, interaction, focus on form. Exposure is reading and hearing many different examples of the language all around, everywhere. That's one advantage you would have learning English in the US, Francisco, because you would hear it everywhere. You're surrounded by English, right?
Yeah.
Kids here in Mexico City, they don't have as much exposure to English. Okay, they can see it on Netflix, right? Whatever, yeah? But not as much as you would have had. So, number 7, what is the silent period? That's when learners are taking in language, processing it, and perhaps silently practicing it. 8, why is interaction important? It allows learners to use the language, experiment, make the language work in communication. So use, experimentation, communication. And focus on form is focusing on the language, as you mentioned, grammaticizing it, analyzing it, identifying it, and practicing it. Is that clear, those answers? Yeah, so this is kind of theoretical, isn't it? Let's take a short break now of 5 minutes. Why don't we actually leave Zoom for 5 minutes and come back, and I'm going to change some settings on the Zoom, okay? So I'll see you back here at 15:41. Okay, return.